So I was just about to start building our storage system that we had discussed last episode, and I was taking down the little prototype that we had built, and then I accidentally found this place, which is right underneath our spawn, or the spawn chunks for the world, which is going to be so perfect for the base. So I wanted to hit record here and show you guys. I did kind of have the idea that I wanted to build underground, I just didn't know of a suitable location, so I kind of settled for above ground, but as soon as I saw this, it was change of plans. This is going to be absolutely perfect for us. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's going to be a lot of terraforming and a lot of development underneath here, but I have a vision, and I'm hoping that with enough time and enough work put into this place, I can see it through. But man, this is going to... How far down does it actually go here? This is going to be perfect. Let's go into free cam here. Oh man, there's even lava lakes underneath. Oh, this is sweet. And with it being so close to the spawn chunks, since we're building a storage room here, and storage rooms and redstone in general doesn't necessarily like to be unloaded. Yeah, like when a sorting system is sorting through items, we don't really want to unload the chunks, but because it's in spawn chunks, I think that means it's not going to be affected if we quickly hop to the nether while stuff is sorting here. So the spawn chunks are... Let's see if we can get the overlay here. Yeah, the spawn chunks are here. So it's not quite in the open here, but that, I mean, we can do terraforming. This is Minecraft. We can make this whatever we want. Whatever we need it to be, we can make it. But, like, this is such a good starting point. Well, yeah, it's not exactly the safest place under here, but I think I'm still convinced we're going to build underneath here. Let me do some development and maybe even start building the storage room, and I'll come back to you with some progress. Despite all the benefits of putting a storage system in the spawn chunks for its potential in continuous and uninterrupted operation, ultimately I decided to move it a little further down into the cave and away from the spawn chunks. Some of the benefits of putting it in the spawn chunks are also contrasted with the downsides of consistent game resources being used to load all the redstone. Additionally, with our plans of having a prominent base location out in the swamp later on with storage and infrastructure out there, I just thought this would be a better long-term play for the world overall. There was a substantial amount of terrain which needed removed to get the redstone positioned where I wanted it, and I did consider a beacon, but it wasn't too much effort, and with efficiency 5 on the pickaxe, it was quite relaxing to clear out. So now with a location prepared, I had a long spell of gathering and crafting the rest of the redstone parts we need. I say long spell, it really wasn't that bad. It was quite fun actually. Using the wood from the tree farm and the iron from the golems, we could easily manage the 5 stacks of hoppers. Redstone torches, repeaters, droppers, observers and comparators were also simple with the resources we had on hand. However, I did find that with those parts crafted, there was again a shortage of redstone dust. So now was the time to add more cleric villagers for the emerald to dust trade. We have plenty of iron and emeralds to make the trades, but we find ourselves in a similar situation to episode 1. No blaze rods. I'm glad that I'd marked the nether destinations and I'd followed the signs once again to the fortress. Conveniently, this time I managed to find a nicely located blaze spawner, which I didn't spot the first 2 times I was here. Yeah, it was a really well contained spawner, which made it quite easy to farm the blazes for their rods. And in the end, after a bit of farming, I left with 37 blaze rods. Enough to get our cleric villagers, but also more than sufficient to craft all the copper bulbs we need. So it wasn't too long after this point before we had all the materials required in some shulker boxes, and I shuffled them over to our new storage location and started to put it all together. I actually enjoyed this a lot. It was really fun to work on this redstone project, and this is just the beginning. Like I mentioned last episode, we still have the bulk storage to implement. So yeah, it took a long time, but it was really fun, and I'm hoping that over the course of the series, tackling more and more complex redstone problems, because this is relatively simple when you break it all down, and we will break it all down here. This is relatively simple, but I'm hoping over the course of this series, tackling more complex problems with redstone solutions is going to feel like second nature. Alright, and just like that, we have the first portion of the redstone built. So we're down here in the future location of our storage room. Maybe I can show you in relation to the spawn chunks. So we were running around up there. The spawn chunks are just behind those pillars up there. So yeah, it's like right where the ravine is. So we're a little bit further to the north. Our village is over that way. And yeah, I just decided to put it here just to avoid loading it all the time. Especially later on in the game when we have many more redstone projects constructed around the world. I don't necessarily want tons and tons of hoppers loaded, because this is like 280 hoppers worth, I think, is in this one little area in 2 chunks of space. So I don't really want that always loaded. And besides, if we need chunk loaders, we can use the player command, or we can just build a vanilla chunk loader, which is likely what we'll end up doing eventually. Okay, so I'm going to try my best to explain how this all works, but we're going to have to do a little bit more configuration. I still need to set up an input chest. Well, for now, this is the input chest, but it works on the same principle as we talked about last episode, where we use the copper bulbs to essentially lock the hoppers in sequence. So before we can turn it on, we do need to alternate the copper bulbs. So we're going to have to... Wait, what's the easiest way to do this? We have to start it with every other copper bulb switched on. Wait, we should be able to update the redstone, or update the observers here, which power the bulbs, power the comparator, power the hopper, and then remove this, right? That should keep them all powered. Put the redstone back. Like that. Yeah, and then do the same thing for these ones. Replace the rail. And that should have... Oh no, wait, it turned it off again. Oh, this is a disaster. I should have... The play would have been to power these as I was building it, which is probably what you want to do if you also want to copy this. I will provide a schematic for this once it's all finalized and all the bugs are ironed out and stuff. So check Discord in the future, or check the video description and I'll update it. But I think we're now at the configuration we want, where every other copper bulb is illuminated. Right? Let's double check. Yes. Yes. So every other copper bulb is now illuminated. This is the default state when it's off that we want it to be in. And I think from my testing in the creative world, you can have it anyway. So you can power these ones and leave these ones off, as long as it's alternating to start with. And then there's also one more copper bulb up here, which is for a different system I'll explain later on. That has to be opposite to this one, to its adjacent copper bulb. So this one we also want to power, since the one right next to it is unpowered. Okay, so now what we have to do is remove all the dirt in front here. And this is where all the shulker boxes are going to be placed. So we decided last episode that we want this 4 blocks tall. There is also hoppers on the 5th block and on, well, blocks underneath. That is just required, actually, so that we can pass all the redstone. So we want to have our shulker boxes here up to 4 blocks, and we want this the full length of the system eventually. Now, we do have the very tedious task of sorting through all the shulker boxes. So what we basically need to do, not right now, but what I need to go through and do is decide on which shulker or decide on a configuration for each shulker box, since we're using these as the filters themselves. So let's say this is our redstone box. Our redstone box is down here. Yeah, we need to decide on an order and also a configuration within the shulker boxes. So let's say we designate these 2 boxes for redstone. We need to set out a layout inside the box, decide how many spaces we want to designate for pistons, and so on. And that's going to take hours and hours and hours to do. And it's probably something we'll do over time. Since, yeah, now in 1.21.4, which is the version we're currently in, 1.21.5 is out, but I've not updated just yet. I do want to update very soon, though, because some of the new stuff looks awesome. But, yeah, in recent versions, there's now a lot of items in the game, and we want to have a place to store all of those. Okay, so we have one shulker box here, which can only accept redstone dust. Everything else is just empty space. And then there should be overflow up here. This is where overflow is going to end up. Okay, so let's throw in a stack and 16. We want to ideally account for all the items. We don't want to lose any in the system. Like, we don't want any lost in the droppers or in the hoppers. We want it all to be sorted properly. And what we should see here actually is with the redstone, it should not go into overflow since there's a destination. So enough talk, let's just try this out. And it doesn't work. Oh, I'm missing it. There's supposed to... Okay, wait. Yeah, there's supposed to be a sticky piston up there connected to some slime blocks. That's on a redstone block. And this basically just tells the system that there is input materials. So this comparator here reads the contents of this hopper. Essentially, if there's anything in the input, we send a signal down. And that will invert this torch right in front of us here, which will then depower this redstone line and invert this torch, starting our redstone clock. Although I did just notice a couple of seconds ago that when I said earlier that you can have the lamps in any configuration, you can't. You have to start them with these outside ones powered and these ones unpowered. So we need to invert the whole system as the starting configuration. Okay, so now let's try this again. We're going to throw in a stack and a half, and ideally we want it, again, all accounted for. And as you can see, the redstone powered the piston, turning on the clock. So it's starting to sort through items, and we should see our redstone in this box here. Yes! Yes! Oh, this is glorious, look at it. It's working, and crucially, we should not see any redstone appear in this item hopper below it. Since it has a valid destination here in the shulker box, it should not pass through this hopper and go down to the next one. And that happens because of the locking sequence of the hoppers, right? So, I approached this in a bit of a different way to what I showed last episode in the timing side of things. And it took me a very long time to figure out. Okay, hold on. It should also turn itself off when there's no more items in the system. There's 22. Let's wait for the full half stack. I'm hoping we don't miss any. There should be 33 since there was a piece of redstone dust in this slot. Or 34 since there was also a piece of redstone dust there. 28, that's not what we want to see. So some items were missing there. Yeah, there's 4 redstone dust. That might be... there might be a way to solve that. But since it's already in these hoppers here, it might not be possible. Yeah, remember when I said there was still some bugs to iron out? That's one of them. I really didn't want that to happen. In all my testing, I've only had that happen a couple of times, and it's only when... Man, I think we can add some delay to this, but let me try to explain how this works. Okay, let's restart this, and we'll follow the redstone. So I'm going to put in 2 more stacks of dirt. The clock has been started once again. So if we follow the redstone down from the clock here, it goes up the glass tower, and then it hits some observers here, which will... observers essentially update when a block updates in front of their face, and it will send a short pulse. So it sends a short pulse to this activator rail. Not activator rail, powered rail, which is an instant signal. And that will update the block in front of these observers. We have to also add an extra observer in the middle somewhere to extend the signal line, since it isn't enough to... I'm pretty sure this is the same as redstone dust, where it only powers 15 blocks long, and the whole system is 15 blocks long, so it isn't quite enough to reach all the way to the end. So halfway down we have another observer, which does add some extra delay to the lamps. Like, you can see here that it's slightly delayed on the end ones compared to the ones before that observer. But as long as the observers in the middle are placed in the same spaces, because the items sort vertically, it shouldn't actually matter. So long as each lamp here is properly timed with the one above and below it, then it should be fine, right? Since the items flow downwards. But yeah, we update the powered rail here, which updates the observer, and that powers the copper bulbs. So then after enough cycles, if the items don't find a place in a shulker box, a valid storage destination, then they will snake their way down to the bottom row of hoppers, where we then have more hoppers underneath. So it's just a big hopper chain going in this direction, and that leads into some droppers. And then all the droppers are facing upwards, so they all point they're all pointing into each other, upwards. And then we just have a way to detect if there's any items in the bottom dropper via this comparator, which will then power this repeater, power this block, invert this torch, depower this block, which then depowers this repeater. This repeater's facing this direction, which then inverts this block, inverts the torch, powers this redstone block and inverts this torch. And then it will, basically power all the droppers in sequence and send the items upwards. So it's just a big torch tower, and then they eventually reach the top dropper, which points into more hoppers, and the hoppers then go this direction, and this is how we make sure the items go to the next slice. So this hopper is pointing into this sidewards chest, which then points into this hopper and is grabbed by this one and then pulled down whenever the bulbs are depowered. And then, it basically just continues on a big loop like that. So it will pass from this one all the way down, through the hoppers, through the droppers, and it just continues in a big cycle until it eventually reaches the end slice, and then we just have our overflow in this chest right now. I'm going to move this to a more convenient location because we want to actually access overflow and not have to climb up here. There is one more redstone line here at the back, which is part of the way that we keep the system on. So you can see all the torches here turning off. That means there's items flowing in these droppers because the comparators are being powered here. So there's dirt making their way up these droppers right now. And if any one of these repeaters are powered, so essentially if there's anything in any of the droppers, that will also power this redstone line, which goes all the way down. And then it also will power this redstone dust, and it keeps this redstone torch depowered, which then depowers this line and keeps the redstone clock running. And this redstone dust is also connected to the slime blocks and redstone block that we saw earlier from the input system. So to summarize, if there's anything in the input, or if there's anything in the bottom droppers, then it will depower the torch and keep the clock running. I also would like to show you my redstone test world, which I was in for a full day trying to put all this together and iron out all the bugs, although apparently there is still one more where we have some items left unsorted. I'm hoping we can figure that out somehow. But this is where I basically started this. It started from here, and then all the different iterations. There was a lot of different tests and a lot of different configurations I went through. I did mention last episode that I was inspired by Azumavoid's design. This is his design in front of us here. And if we contrast the redstone behind it, the dropper tower is 100% copied, so that's exactly the same on our system over here. But the other redstone is significantly simplified in our version, and I also believe it's 1 or 2 seconds faster to sort the same amount of items, so it's very comparable on speed and significantly simplified. As you can see, his one under here uses a lot more redstone for the clock system because he does not use the copper bulbs. So it's similar, but it's quite different in our one over here. Much easier to build this one, I will say. One of the trickiest parts of this was making sure that we don't skip a hopper. So when there is a space for redstone in the shulker box, how do we make sure that we don't send too many items through the system at once and have it skip over? And to do that, we limit the input to the whole system, right? So this extra copper bulb that we saw at the beginning, which is inverted from the one next to it. So whenever we power the powered rail here, it also updates this observer, which powers the bulb. And then we take 2 comparator outputs, which reads the redstone signal. Essentially, if it's on, it will power the comparator, power the block, power the repeater, power the block, power the repeater, and keep this redstone dust powered, which powers this block and disables this hopper. And we're doing that twice here just to make sure that it stays on long enough. So we have this one here on a short delay. So it immediately grabs the pulse from the bulb into this comparator and then powers the redstone. And then after some delay, it also powers the redstone again to stay on. And with this specific timing, it took so long to figure this out, but with this specific timing, it's enough so that it lets exactly 4 items through the hopper at once. So let's put our redstone dust in again. we should see it take out 4 at once. So 57, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. Yes, that's exactly what we want. Yeah, and that is precisely enough time to lock the next hopper to lock this hopper to allow this one to release all of the redstone into the box here. So we shouldn't see any redstone in the hopper below it because it's being limited on the input. Now, this is what I said when we sacrifice sorting speed for convenience. So we are limiting input, we are limiting sorting speed here. Did we have... Yeah, we lost 4 more redstone dust here. I wonder if there's a way to fix that. Because it appears to be only when it's in this hopper here. And if it happens to get to the droppers, then we have the comparator lock, right? When we power that redstone dust there, it keeps the signal on. So we just need to add enough delay for the items to either sort into shulker boxes or get to the droppers down there. That was a huge thunderstorm. I mean, or we just accept that there might be some item loss. I mean, it's not lost. It's not actually lost. It's in the system. And the next time it turns on, it will unpower and find its way to the proper location. But, man, I don't know if there's a way to easily fix that. But our 2 stacks of dirt from earlier on did end up in overflow, so we didn't lose anything there. That is curious. So one of the other criteria I want for this whole system, this whole storage room, and the whole area that we'll have underneath there, is that I want it to be nice and aesthetic, unlike this area, which I don't really care about and will eventually clean up, as I said. And I think I've come up with a block palette. Unfortunately, though, we don't have almost any of the blocks I want to use. Yeah, there's so many to choose from, but I think I've ultimately decided to go for a sandstone build. And I'm getting flashbacks to Divine Journey 2 right now. It is a super underrated block, and not something I've used a whole lot since Divine Journey 2, which was many years ago by now. So that means we have to find a desert, and we have not come across any deserts. I did have a look on Chunk Base as to the seed of this world, because I don't want to load too many chunks, and it appears the closest one is unfortunately about 3,000 blocks in this direction. Oh, ruined portal. Anything interesting? Probably not. I'll take the obsidian. Not much else. Maybe I'll come back for the crying obsidian later on. Oh, actually, I'll take the gold. Yeah, it's about 3,000 blocks in this direction. We have yet to find some cherry trees. I don't think I want to use this, but maybe eventually. It's nice to have some saplings, so I'm going to grab some of these. Oh, I suppose there is a beach there, which we could probably get a decent amount of sand from. I think I still want to find a full desert, because I also want to get a mesa, since I want to use terracotta as well. Yeah, let's just continue on our mission to find this desert. And also, since I'm going to be updating to 1.21.5 fairly soon, I don't know exactly when, I want to also delete some of these chunks that we're now loading so that we can get 1.21.5 terrain. Because they fixed a few things and also added some stuff, like new mobs in different biomes and stuff like that. So I think we're just going to get rid of all this terrain that we're flying through at the moment, which we'll cover in a different episode. Oh, there's a huge jungle here. Oh, also dark oak. We're in need of some dark oak. Let's pick up some dark oak saplings. Hello, skeleton. Oh, what a shot. He didn't know what was coming. I did shear some sheep here, so let's get a bed. I hear another skeleton. Oh, what do we think about these cherry planks? I haven't used them yet, but I think I'm a fan. I do really love them. In the right circumstances, of course. It's not going to fit for our storage room, but they're a pretty good addition to the game, I would say. I don't think our tree farm can do dark oak saplings, so we're going to be chopping these manually. But it's alright, we don't need that many, I don't think. Okay, I think we're going this direction. We're getting into savanna, that's warmer climates. I'm hoping we should see our desert right about now. There's a savanna village. Aha, there we go, mesa. Mesa biome, and right beyond that is our desert. Perfect. Well, I was going to build a nether portal out here, but maybe that's not such a good idea since we'll be deleting these chunks later on to regenerate them in 1.21.5. So I'm probably just going to fill a couple of shulker boxes full of sand. I don't know, we'll see. I'm going to spend a little while out here, grab some sand, and then head back and do some building. Alright everyone, well I wanted to give you a bit of a progress update at this point. I've been doing lots of building. I will keep doing some building this episode and I'll show you the finished storage room before it's all said and done. But I want to show you some of my thoughts here and the current iteration of the storage room. Alright, so obviously we need a better entrance to this place, but this is the one we've been using so far. When I'm building this, I'm really thinking about the sightlines, or the future sightlines. So this area up here we're standing on right now is probably going to be a pretty prominent area in this whole base, right? So this whole water area, I'm not sure if we'll keep the water, but regardless, we're probably going to have some sort of infrastructure up here as well. So what I want eventually is, when all this is built out, I want to have a good sightline down to our storage room, which probably means removing that pillar in front of us. There was also another pillar right in front of the hoppers, which I removed early on. So that definitely helped, but we'll have to also probably remove this one, and then whatever this is as well. There's a lot of work to do up here, but I think what I want is some sort of a walkway or a bridge maybe down this way to lead us down into the storage room itself. So yeah, as you can see behind me, it's still a work in progress, but I'm really happy with the overall vibes, so to say. The atmosphere in here that is being created by the block palette itself and the theme is really cozy. I'm really starting to enjoy being down here, which is a good thing, since we'll be spending a lot of time down here and in this cave in general. So I'm really happy with the direction, but there's a couple of details which I'm not so sold on. The first thing I'll mention is that I did move the output chest over to our right hand side here. So we have this one designated as overflow. It used to be right above that dropper there, which is now rerouted into a water stream, and that just flows down into over a hopper, and then for now into this overflow chest. So ideally, when we're all said and done with this, I want to not see a single torch, so I'm trying to hide some lighting. Right now I'm doing some glowstone underneath some moss carpet. There's also this area which I have some glowstone in. I've hidden some glowstone up here as well, just for some added lighting. But lighting is very important in a build to create atmosphere. Obviously we have the copper bulbs back there, which will eventually oxidize along with this stuff. I am currently undecided if I want to leave it all to oxidize or if we want to leave some of it in this weathered state. I do really love this oxidized copper next to the sandstone. That is a really nice contrast, a really nice combination. I'm not sold on this backdrop here. This is lime terracotta and green terracotta, and then red as well. I also tried mud blocks. I tried cherry wood, which didn't work. I've tried a lot of different blocks up there, and nothing is seeming to stick yet. I'm not a skilled enough builder at this point to intuitively tell what it's missing. I just know it's missing something, and I'm really not sure what. But there's a lot of development left to do on this backdrop. Maybe I was thinking to put a world map up there. That could be interesting to fill the space, but it's going to need something. So as for the blocks themselves, we have stripped dark oak as a frame block, and then we have the sandstone, so all the variants: cut sandstone, smooth sandstone, regular sandstone, chiseled, and then this is stripped birch wood, which I quite like in combination as some of the wall blocks. And then we have oak wood on the floor. This is stripped oak wood, which I think gives a really nice border between the lighter color of the sandstone and the floor material, which is made up of jungle wood and moss and grass blocks. Oh, and also brown mushroom blocks. That's what these are here, brown mushroom. There's so many different blocks involved in this, but I'm trying to really expand and use a variety of blocks because I think it adds to the aesthetic when you do it properly. You can definitely go overboard. Also, it would be nice to have a storage system right about now, right? I'm still living out of shulker boxes, which is kind of how it goes, right? But I'm trying to stay at least somewhat organized. Yeah, so I located a mangrove swamp, just on a side note. I located a mangrove swamp because I thought I was going to use some mud blocks. Unfortunately, the closest one ended up being way on the other side of our witch farms, or the witch huts, and it's like 5,000 blocks away from spawn. So we do have a nether connection out there, but it turns out we didn't use any mangrove wood. Maybe some mangrove wood would work in the backdrop up there. But yeah, we have access to a mangrove swamp now, just for some more building blocks. I did go back to the mesa several times for terracotta. Been farming some mushroom blocks. So yeah, we have a decent amount of building blocks here. Lots and lots of wood farming with a tree farm. Where are we going to put this overflow system as well? Since, remember, we want to do bulk storage, which is going to be in a similar sort of configuration here, but the redstone is going to be a bit different. And I think the slices might be every other block. I haven't quite decided yet, but it's going to take up roughly the same amount of space. So I was thinking we can either put it on the right-hand side, which would be very convenient for the overflow, because essentially we want the items to go from the input chest, which is here. This is properly hooked up, by the way, which I'll show you later on in the video. So we want the items to go from input chest, or from our inventory, right? So if we want to sort glowstone, pop it in the input chest. And let's say the shulker box that we have is already full with 1 stack of glowstone. Then it's going to go to overflow and then be rerouted to the bulk storage, which would be very easy to route from here to the right-hand side. But I'm actually leaning towards putting it on the left, which would mean probably routing the items underneath or maybe over the top here somehow and then into bulk storage, because I want it to hit this sorting system first before it hits the bulk storage. So one of the other ideas I just had a couple of minutes ago here is I want to have some maybe balconies up here. I'm not sold on this pillar up the middle and this water. This is probably going to get changed, but I think it would be really awesome to have some sort of balcony at maybe the same level as this copper roof. And then what I'm thinking is the staircase is going to go up here, and then maybe it branches off to the left and the right, and that's how you get up to the balcony. I don't know, I'm just feeling so inspired right now. The ideas are flowing. Sometimes you just have to get started and get stuck into things before you know where it's going to go, because none of this was pre-planned before I started this series or before I started even the redstone here. I didn't have a clue where this was going to go. I just knew I wanted to use sandstone, and it seems to have worked out all right, but yeah, the ideas are flowing here, so I'm going to keep on building, and with any luck, this should be much more developed in a couple of seconds for you guys. Okay, one aspect of the game I would love to understand is why these item filters keep breaking. So this is our sugarcane slice for the sugarcane, bamboo, melon, pumpkin farm. But for some reason the filter items keep getting taken out here and it's allowing the bamboo in. Like, I think it's now set wrong. Yeah, it's just completely broken. Is it because of chunks unloading? If you guys have any insight as to why that happens, that would be much appreciated. I have a feeling it's because of the chunks unloading, but I could be wrong. There might be something else I'm missing. But I'm just here to gather some string. Oh yeah, I built a cactus farm over here as well. Since we needed some green dye, it's nothing special, and it will get moved like the rest of the stuff here. I don't think I need to say that at this point. But yeah, I'm at the point in the build now where I'm not sure which direction is the right one to take. Yeah, so I'm also second guessing myself a lot here, and so I would really love some feedback. If you guys feel inspired when you see this and have any ideas immediately, then let me know. But first impressions are everything, so we need a better entrance regardless. I mean, this view is pretty cool, don't get me wrong, but yeah, it would be nice to have a grand entrance for this place one day. Anyways, this is the current progress on the storage room, and yeah, as I said, I'm kind of second guessing some of the decisions I've made here. But at least for me, there is a lot to love, and definitely the backdrop and the sightlines, which is what we talked about earlier on. The sightlines are almost spot on, especially from here, so, I mean, obviously we're going to get rid of this still. I removed a couple of the other pillars which were in the way. You know, I just said first impressions were everything, and I just showed you probably the worst view. It's much better viewed from this angle, from back here, from inside. Like, inside here is much better, since this is the area I've spent the most time in. This part back here it's still a massive work in progress. But this part here, I'm really happy with how it turned out. Yeah, everything seems to flow a lot nicer now. I'm not sure about the painting up there. Originally, I think I did say I wanted a world map, but it's kind of growing on me the more I pass by it. It's been there for like a few hours at least. Every time I pass it, I kind of like it, so I'm not sure if it'll stay or not. And then, yeah, we went for red terracotta in the end, and also pink. I may switch this around. I may do the red here and the pink here, but there's been so many switching of blocks, like, Every time I walk through here, I just change a block or two, like the texture in for the sandstone. I'm like, that doesn't look quite right. Move this to here, move that to there. And it's like, is there actually a correct way for it to be? Not really, but it's one of those things that you see and you can't unsee every time you pass it. If it annoys you, like this copper roof, for example, the shape took me so long. I originally had these pillars much, much taller, but it didn't really fit with the copper roof, and I wanted to carry it all the way around. But I think I've settled on this, and it's going to stay this way for a bit. So yeah, this area here I'm quite pleased with. We have a little garden down here. We got some mushrooms, or not mushrooms, some melons, some cherry. What are these called again? We got some dripstone. We got some glowstone in the back just for some added lighting. And then we got some sugar cane. We got some bamboo. We got some more paintings just to, like, I really went overboard on the details, but I think it kind of works. Some of these, I picked up the string here because some of these are a little too tall for my liking. I think we're going to limit that and probably limit this as well. This one is probably fine where it is. This one, maybe we'll bring down a block. I don't like the sugar cane. Let's bring that down a block. Yeah, I'm just trying to, like, not do symmetry. I'm trying to, on purpose, make it asymmetrical, like that, at least where it makes sense. So like some places you'll see symmetry, like these two chiseled sandstone blocks, but honestly I'm still trying to learn how to do this. Yeah, we just want it all at different heights so it doesn't look, because nature isn't symmetrical, right? So especially the nature parts we want to be asymmetric. Is that the right word? Asymmetric? I think so. Maybe the vines are a little over the top here though. I'm not sure about the vines. I think I'll remove those. Yeah, that's looking nicer now that we've implemented the string and stopped some of the growth. Definitely much nicer that way. But yeah, for the nature parts, we want it to be asymmetrical. For some of the built-up areas, I want more symmetry, but also at the same time, I don't want complete symmetry in the way it's set up. So, like, I originally had staircases which went here upwards to our balcony, and then also a staircase upwards here. But then I thought, well, why do that? Why should there be staircases on both sides? It's kind of boring, and it will lead to a very grid-like pattern, which I'm trying to avoid. So instead, the current plan is to do a staircase down, and again, I didn't want to make a straight staircase. I just want to do things a little bit different here, like just a little bit, I don't know, what's the word, like quirky? Von Sway, as Etho would say. Yeah, a little bit Von Sway, a little bit quirky, a little bit kind of not right. So I just went off to the side slightly with the staircase, and this will lead to our bulk storage. I think I've decided that it's going to be on this side. Yeah, so somewhere around here is going to be our bulk storage, and we'll connect up this doorway as well, and then probably somehow lead the path down into the cave further on. So that's the plan for this direction. This is our project for next episode, probably, although there's some other stuff I'm kind of leaning towards we might tackle next episode. It's important that we get this up and running before bulk storage, because there's going to be duplicates in the way that items are stored. I'll explain all my thoughts on that next episode, but yeah, on this side, instead of going a staircase up straight away, I have built in some areas for like little nooks, and I was thinking potentially little micro farms. I hear a zombie. Potentially little micro farms, like maybe we do something like a dispenser bone meal wheat farm, or we do like a chicken farm, or I don't know, just something small that we can stick in these little nooks. Probably another one here, and then I've left the exit on this place this way, which will lead around to the right hand side of the storage system, and then also connect up with this doorway. And then we have a little staircase to lead us up to the balcony area. I have some desert shrubbery here. I don't know, it's just something to fill the space, make it interesting and not have a flat wall behind it. But yeah, this is the second floor here, or the first floor, depending on where you come from. This is the floor above, where we can have a view onto the storage system. It's going to lead this way. I don't know how far it's going to extend yet. And then we have a little 3 in the carpet. I'm not sure which orientation it should be. Should it be this way? I guess it should, because we're probably going to be looking from up here, right? Yeah, it's just another way that we can hide the glowstone underneath, and that's hidden by some trapdoors and the bamboo. This is bamboo. It's the first time I've ever used the bamboo. Yeah, I'm not sure if I'm using too many blocks here. Like, maybe I have gone overboard. Like, I was cautious about earlier on. Maybe I have gone overboard with the amount of blocks used here, like variety of blocks, but maybe you guys can let me know about that. And then, yeah, it just continues over this way. Not much else happening so far. So yeah, I stepped back for a bit, and I came back to this, and I'm like, as I'm walking around here, it's like, wow, I really didn't build that much. It's just, there's not a whole lot here, but this represents so much iteration and so much building. And of course, so much material collection. I mean, yeah, our mess of shulker boxes has grown. Like I said earlier, we need a storage system. We could do with a storage system here. Anyway, let's do one more test. So we have some spare shulker boxes here. Let's test the middle slice. And I don't know, let's just test this one up here. So in case it wasn't obvious earlier on when I explained this, when we set our shulker boxes, so the filter, let's say, for example, we designate the shulker box for the stone, and we say we want to store bamboo, and we want to store scaffolding, and we want to store string. Whenever we are down here and we're looking for those items, and we take it out of the shulker box, we just need to make sure that we keep at least one item left behind, because this is essentially the filter, remember? This is what determines what can enter the shulker box. Otherwise, if we had an empty slot, it's like a blank filter, right? It's an empty whitelist. So that is another one of the downsides of this system, but again, there is trade-offs, there's pros and cons to doing it this way, and this is just the way it happens to be. So let's try this out one more time. So we have nothing here. Actually, let's fill this one as well. This is essentially going to be our quote-unquote empty shulker, empty storage, and this is our cyan box. Let's put in 16 of each item into the input chest, and I'll show you how the input is currently hooked up. There is also one more feature, or a couple more features I want to add to this. Let's do 16 of that, and 16 scaffolding. There is currently no way to input shulker boxes into this, as in full shulker boxes. So let's say we come back from building and we want to empty out all these. We would have to empty out all the contents and stick them in as regular items, which is not ideal. I want to be able to drop in like full shulker boxes filled with items, and the system should be able to unload the shulker box and then sort the items within the shulker box, and then somehow give us the empty one back, right? We don't want it swallowing items, although it's still, well, we're going to see if it does or not. So yeah, we want to have some sort of shulker box unloader, maybe also an unstackable filter as well for unstackables, and maybe that can be stored in a separate area, probably off to the right hand side could be an idea. But as you can see, for the input chest, I added a safety feature just because we don't have the shulker box unloader in yet, where it does not begin to sort items until you push the button. So this hopper underneath the chest is kept constantly locked until you hit the button, and now it starts to sort. So the way this works is we have the button hooked up to this redstone, which will invert the torch, and then depower this block, which will allow the items to flow through the hopper. And then as soon as there's items flowing through this hopper, it keeps the signal on, which keeps the torch depowered. Yeah, and then I guess all the drops have made their way through, and then it goes into this dropper. There's another dropper tower, and then into our input chest, which we saw earlier on. Now, this should actually be on by now. Is it this lever? Is it this lever powering this dropper, or... No, it's not the lever. Where's the items went? Oh, I was afraid this would happen. They're in the input chest, and they're locked by the current state of the device. You remember much earlier in the episode when I said the default state of this thing should be the inverse of this, so this lamp is on, this lamp is off. Well, that is because we want this lamp off to start with, because this is going to power the input hopper and lock it, which is our way to limit the items, but that also limits the input chest as well. Because now the items are stuck here, right? They've been through the droppers, through the hoppers, and now they're stuck in this chest. Oh, that makes me so sad. I didn't realize that could happen, actually. Or I didn't consider the fact that could happen, but I think it's because it turned itself off in this state. Maybe there's a way to send a pulse to the copper bulb again once the clock turns off. I mean, I'll have to investigate that between episodes, but for now, let's just manually turn it back on. Make sure we don't lose any items. Yeah, now, as soon as it starts, like, as soon as the clock starts, then it's good to go, right? The items are being taken out of here. Guys, we have a disaster. It doesn't work! I let the whole thing run. It was like, maybe 2 minutes to get to this point, and we're missing a piece of string. And we're missing some cyan terracotta as well. Oh, man, and there's nothing in the overflow. This was just from when I was building earlier on. Maybe from when I was building, there's always been one item in a single dropper somewhere, which would definitely break it. But if that's not the case, I'm going to go through every single dropper. If that's not the case, then I have no idea why it breaks. And I'm going to need your guys' help. But where there's a will, there is a way. I did say that, and I will make this work. You guys can let me know your ideas, but for now, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next episode of 3 Plays Minecraft. It's not 0 to hero anymore. We are not experts. As you can see, we make some mistakes, and I ain't afraid to admit it. But it will be fixed. It will be fixed one day.